What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the vlog. This is a 2-3 session at the Lucky Lady, and it was actually my friend Justin's game. He was hosting it, so it was a lot of action, and the 7 Deuce game was on as well. I had a few hands with 7 Deuce, and I had a really interesting run of hands where I picked up aces, and then I picked up kings right after, and then I ended it with 7 Deuce, and that made me a bit of money at the end there. So super fun game, a lot of action, and I think you guys are going to enjoy it. Appreciate you guys checking it out, and I hope you enjoy. Our very first hand, we pick up 7 Deuce off, and the 7 Deuce game is actually on right now, so if I win this hand, I get $15 from each player. I think we're 9-handed at this point, and there's 8 other opponents, so I'd win about $120 if I take this pot down, either pre-flop or post-flop. As long as I win, we're going to make a nice $120, so I'm going to do everything I can here pre-flop to take this down. The cutoff raises to $30, and the cutoff calls, so I bump this up to $130, hoping to take it down pre-flop. I'm in the big blind here with 7 Deuce off. Seeing a flop would be one of the worst situations I can get in. I might be playing a bit wide here, but considering I can win $120 or so by just taking this pot down pre-flop, I think it's worth the risk. Worst case scenario, we get raised here and we fold, just kind of lose $120 for nothing, but I want to take a chance and start off the session with a nice one. So luckily they both end up folding, and we show the 7 Deuce off, take $15 from each of our opponents, which is about $120, and we start the session off with taking down a about $65 pot and also a $120 bounty. About 25 minutes goes by and we look down at ace-9 off in the middle position. The straddle is on, so I want to bump this up to $20 to start off. The player to my left gets out of the way quickly, and the hijack calls for $20. The cutoff calls as well, button folds pretty quickly, small blind and big blind fold as well, so now it's on the under the gun player, who was also the straddle, for $5 initially. Just counting out a lot more chips than what I put in initially, looks like about $60 to $70, and I'm really worried that we're going to get raised here. Don't have that great of a hand, and I'm hoping to see a flop for the 20 I initially raised with. Luckily, she does just put in the call. I was really worried we'd be facing a raise. I guess it'd make my decision quite easy to just fold and get out of the way, but luckily we get to see a flop. And that flop comes out 7-3-3 rainbow. This doesn't really hit our range, and the only thing I'm really worried about in this situation is maybe someone with like pocket sevens, but ultimately I do decide to put a c-bet out here for $25 just to kind of gauge where I'm at headed to the turn. The hijack and under the gun player fold. The cutoff was the only player to call, so we're now heads up going to a turn which comes out a jack of diamonds. I decide that I'm going to rep a hand like maybe queens or kings, considering the pre-flop action with me opening out of position and also betting into 3 other opponents on the flop. I feel like this line sort of makes a bit of sense, so I bet out $60 into my opponent. I think I could also have a hand perhaps like ace-3 of diamonds. My thought process here is if a diamond comes out on the river, I can definitely barrel off, but my opponent has a bit of a shorter stack. It's about 200 or 250 behind, so I don't have much room to bluff on the river, considering that he will be getting such good pot odds with whatever he has left. I think he's likely to call even if a diamond comes out. The obvious hands I'm concerned about are something like 7-8 of clubs or 7-8 of spades, something that would continue on with this flop bet. Also a hand like 7 Deuce, because a 7 Deuce game is on, but luckily he does fold and we show the bluff, and we take down a nice sized pot there with ace high. I start recording a bit late in this next hand. I have 10-5 offsuit, I'm on the button, and pre-flop the action was basically a straddle, and then the hijack player raises to 15, I call the 15, and then the straddle also calls. So we're 3 players going to a flop. The flop comes out 3-9-6 with 2 diamonds. The straddle checks, and the pre-flop aggressor puts out a bet for $20. I don't think this flop hit her range, and I also don't perceive her as too strong of a player, so I end up just raising here to $60. I think I'm just going to take this down without even having to really play my hand. Our aggression paid off, and we take down a nice sized pot while holding an awful hand. We're 7-handed now, and the straddle is on $5 for me. I'm under the gun, and I pick up king 8 offsuit. Both my opponents to the left fold, cutoff limps in, and the button folds. The small blind raises to $20, and big blind calls. Considering the cutoff just limped, I'm not too worried about him in this hand. I have a decent hand and I want to try to isolate this pot, so I raise it to $80 here, hoping to take it down pre-flop, but going heads up would be great too. I know this isn't the strongest hand, but I'm trying to play a range here and use my position to my advantage, especially against two opponents that I know fairly well. So I end up going with that line. The cutoff folds and the small blind puts in the call. Big blind folds, so my plan worked out and we're going heads up, going to a flop. Obviously, I am repping a very strong hand with that raise pre-flop, and I'm going to try to just play my range here on whatever comes out. And the flop comes out great for us. It's 8 ace 4 with 2 diamonds. Definitely hits my range more than my opponent's, and he quickly checks over to me. So I decided it's a good time to put in a c-bet here and apply some pressure, considering that the ace hit my range, and I'm also holding middle pair here. I fire off a bet of $50 and he folds. So luckily the ace on the flop helped us out a lot. Likely that connected with my range more than him, and we're on to the next hand. In this next hand, I'm in the cutoff and we pick up 10-9 suited. The straddle is on, but also there's a double straddle on for $10. So it's a $2 small blind, $3 big blind, $5 straddle, and $10 double straddle. Folds over to the hijack, who raises to $30, and I put in a call here, hoping to see a flop. Obviously, I could go for a raise here as well. I think at some amount of time I will do that, but I don't want to risk getting raised again from his initial open with 10-9 suited, and I'd rather just go to a flop. We're both playing relatively deep right now, so there is some benefit to seeing a flop with 10-9 suited. Everybody else folds, so we're heads up going to a flop, and it comes out Jack Ace 8 Rainbow. This flop likely hits my opponent's range, so a bit worried there about the ace, but we do have an open-ended straight draw, and we also have a backdoor flush draw. I'm feeling pretty good about this flop overall. I think this pot's going to grow quite big, so when he bets out $30, I want to play it a little cautious and not go for a raise here. I think every ace X is going to continue calling, so I end up just putting in the call for $30. We're headed to the turn now, and I'm just really hoping a 7 comes out. Even a queen would be great. Obviously a bit cautious if the queen comes out for a bigger straight, but the 9 of diamonds comes out, which gives us a middle pair sort of holding here. Not the best in this spot. I don't think this really improves us, and I think just makes it maybe easier to bluff at for us holding the 10. So I guess in a way this is a good card for us, but also it takes away some strength in my hand now that the straight is more likely to be out there. He ends up betting $85, and I think about this for a bit, even though I think it's a pretty straightforward call considering how much money's already in the pot. He's giving me a fair price to see the river. I have a few outs. Any 9 would be great. 7 would obviously be the absolute best card we could see on the river, and also a queen could be an out for us. I don't want to get coolered by like 10 king or something, but also I don't think king 10 would take this line up to this point, so I'm not too worried about that. I do think a queen will likely give us the best hand, so I end up making the call here with about 10 outs in my head, hopefully coming here to bail us out. The pot is quite large now, and we are going to the river, which we get super lucky with. It comes out a 7 of spades, and we hit our straight. The only hand that beats me is queen 10, and considering that I'm holding a 10 and block that, also with how he played pre-flop and up to this point, I find it really unlikely that he would have queen 10. There is a possibility he has a hand like ace 10 or something along those lines where he also has a straight and would be chopping, but I also want to get some value here with my straight. I definitely don't want to just check this. I only lose to one hand, so I want to make a nice size bet here to target maybe some hands like ace jack. I fire off a bet of $120. I do think this is a bit of a small bet. I wish I went a little bit larger because I do think hands like ace jack or ace king, ace queen even might make a call here. I gave him a really good price, so it'd be hard for him to fold for 120, trying to get some value here, but I might have missed a bit by not betting a bit larger. I've played with this guy a few times before. Really cool guy and a thinking player, definitely. I know he's in a tough spot here with this run out, especially with a one-liner out for the straight, so a really unfortunate position to be in for him, and I got there this time. So he puts in the call for $120, and I show him the bad news that I got there on the river, and he shows ace 8 of clubs, flopping the 2 pair. Very unfortunate run out for him, and we take down a pretty nice sized pot. In this next hand, I'm in the middle position and I pick up pocket aces, so we're gonna bump this up. The straddle is on, I raise it up to $20. The player to my left folds and the hijack almost instantly raises to $75, cutoff calls as well. The player who raised is Liliana, also known as Flop Era Poker, so she's a vlogger and content creator as well, and I've played with her enough to know that she's not really doing this with a weak hand. She's a pretty solid player and she studies a lot, so I'm going to try to induce a raise here. I raised to 225 hoping to isolate, but also get a jam. She doesn't have too much behind, so I think this would be a spot where she either folds or goes all in, and hoping obviously the third player folds and we just go heads up. Liliana ends up jamming for $450 or so, and the cutoff is looking like he's going to make a call for a second, but ends up folding ultimately, which is probably better for us because I'd rather just go heads up with aces and secure a win versus go three ways and lose to some ridiculous hand. So I'm okay with going heads up here. I snap call it. I prefer to run it twice because I like having less variance typically. Liliana always likes to run it once, so we end up doing that, and it's a pretty clean run out for us. She mucks her hand. We take down a very large pot there, and we're on to the next hand. In the very next hand, I double straddle and I pick up pocket kings. Pretty crazy that we had aces and we pick up kings right after, and even crazier is that Liliana is raising in an early position with probably a pretty strong hand, but we have kings, so when it folds over to us, we're definitely not going to back down here. Liliana raised to 50 and I raised to 150 when it came over to me. She calls and we are off to the flop heads up in another battle, and I have a very strong hand again, just hoping we fade an ace. And unfortunately, the flop comes out ace 10-4 with 3 clubs. The good news is we are holding the king of clubs, so we do have some outs here. I'm just assuming she has an ace in this spot. I check, but she checks back. The 3 of diamonds comes out on the turn, and I bet out for $210. I kind of wish I bet the flop, but it's all good because if she has something like ace queen or ace jack, she's not going to be going anywhere. I do also think she could have queens or jacks maybe, and she thinks I don't have an ace. She puts the call in and we're off to the river, which is a 7 of spades. We missed our flush. I really just, I don't know, I don't think we're that good here with kings. I go a little bit passive here and I decide that I'm gonna check this one and, you know, get some showdown value with my kings. So we check over to her and she shows ace queen. I played pretty poorly this hand. She played it well, and I lost a bit of money there. I'm not sure what my turn bet was trying to accomplish. I just think I played that hand bad overall, but she takes down a very nice sized pot and got back most of her money that she lost against me with aces. So the battle continues, and we're on to the next hand. And right after having 2 premiums, I have 7 deuce off in the straddle, and the 7 deuce game is on. So feeling pretty lucky here. This is probably one of the best hands I could have picked up, and I think my raise shows a lot of strength. It looks like I'm on a heater. So when I see the raise to 20 and 2 callers, I want to bump this up big. There's about $60 in the pot. I wish I bet a bit more, but I end up just doing 120 to look like I'm trying to induce a raise or a call with a very strong hand. Hoping that we take this down pre-flop and show everybody the bad news of having 7 deuce after 2 premium hands like aces and kings back to back. The player next to me is also a good thinking player. I played with him a lot. His name is Jordan. He plays pretty tight and strong, so luckily he folds here. I don't think he had too great of a hand, but he did open, so I was a bit worried about him. All players fold, and I show the 7 deuce. We get another 7 deuce bounty. I know everyone's tilted and not happy with me getting 2 premiums and then 7 deuce, but sometimes you get lucky, and that's what happened here. About 10 minutes goes by and we're in the cutoff here. I pick up 8-7 suited. Double straddle is on for $10. We have 2 limpers. We're deep enough here with some of these players where I want to bump up a hand like 8-7 suited. Liliana raises to $200 and it's now on the big blind player to make a decision on what they want to do. And he thinks for a while. He's been a solid player all night, playing overall tight. So he ends up jamming, and that's a bit of a concern to me. I just kind of wanted to include this hand to show everybody that, no, I don't just gamble with every player and jam 8-7 pre-flop or call, especially if there's no fold equity. So I do end up folding this one. Hope you guys are proud of me there. Not trying to gamble, trying to play more disciplined, and Liliana folds as well. The guy shows pocket queens, so we avoided a disaster. Not a hard one to fold, but just thought I'd include it. Took a small loss of about 50 bucks. A lot of time goes by. I forget to record this hand early, but I pick up Jack 4 suited on the button. I like to play as many hands on the button as I can, and especially when Kevin LAX, another one of my friends, raises. I know he plays typically quite loose, so I call his $30 raise, and we get one more caller. 3 players go into a flop. And we absolutely drill the flop with Jack, Jack, King. There are 2 spades out there, a bit concerning, but overall, I think we have the best hand by far right now. It checks over to Kevin LAX, and he bets $50. I go for a raise here to 120 because I want to protect myself against the spades, but also I think a hand like Ace King or King Queen will continue on this board. There is definitely a lot of incentive there. So the third player folds and Kevin calls 120. We're now headed to a turn, which is a 3 of spades. This is one of the worst cards we could see. Any spade coming out on this turn is a disaster for us. The front door flush gets there. And then Kev leads out into me for $250. He's a pretty wide player and aggressive, very polar, and he makes really big bets when he has it and when he doesn't. So when he leads out to me here, I have a bit to think about. I know it sounds kind of silly to fold jacks in this spot, especially when I played Jack 4. I'm not sure what better flop I'd like to see and run out really. I just have a gut feeling that he has a flush here. I don't know why he'd be betting out 250 into me. It just seems a little bit odd. But then again, I'm thinking if he did have a flush or the nut flush here, would he really be betting and getting rid of my bluffs? Ultimately, I decide it's just not worth it. I show the jack and everyone kind of laughs at me and thinks I'm making a bad fold. So luckily, I'm not. He shows the nut flush on the turn, and we make an awesome fold. My fault for playing Jack 4. I thought I would be good there on the flop, but we end up making a decent fold and saving a bit of money. I guess I kind of lost the minimum on the turn there. Some time goes by. I'm on the button here with 9-8 off. The double straddle is on for $10, and the hijack player raises to 20. So I just go ahead and call here with 20 bucks. Don't have a great hand, but I want to try to play my button and sneak in there. 3 other players call. Luckily, I get to see a flop with this pretty speculative hand. The flop comes out 7-10-7, and it checks over to the hijack player. And she bets $15. I think it's kind of a weaker bet, but it's also into 4 of us, so maybe that does show some strength betting the flop like this. I decide I want to raise this up now though, because if I do hit my straight, I want to make some money from it. So I raise it up to $45 with the hopes that we hit our open-ended straight on the turn or the river. And the under the gun player actually raises to 100. I'm trying to understand kind of what he has here in this spot. I end up putting in the call, but I'm thinking a boat or even a 7 might not raise there. Maybe a 7 for protection. Not really sure what he would be accomplishing with that. So I do call to see another card here and hope we make our straight. 3 of hearts comes out on the turn. We both end up checking, and the river comes the king of spades. I think I played this hand poorly overall. He bets $100 here. I don't even try to bluff. I'm not sure what I would be accomplishing with that. I end up just folding and cutting my losses down, and we lose a small-sized pot there. Not the end of the world. I think I played it bad though, and have a lot to learn from that hand. On this next hand, I'm in the low jack, and I look down at ace jack of diamonds, a great hand in this spot. I see the straddle is on, and we have one person raise it to $15. The middle position player calls, and I'm gonna bump this up a bit. I put in the raise to $60. Most of the players fold here, including the person that opened initially, but the middle position player to my right looks like he wants to make a call or a raise perhaps. Definitely wants to get some action into this pot heads up. I've played with him a lot before as well, and he's a very solid player. I'm definitely one of the least experienced people at this table, so that's on me for not picking the most profitable games, but I do think that I have a decent shot in this game overall. So trying to keep the confidence high into these bigger pots with the stronger players and go to the flop here, which comes out 10-7-3 rainbow. Definitely not the best flop for us. We do have backdoor diamond nut flush draw, and we do have overs to this board. So when he checks over to me, I want to bump this up with a standard c-bet. I raise to 40 and he snap calls me. So we're going to a turn now with the pot growing. And the turn comes out the 8 of hearts, which is obviously a awful card for us. We do not improve at all. I guess if a 9 comes out on the river, that would be pretty dirty, but besides that, the hearts are not great for us, and this hits his range a lot better than it hits ours. He checks over to me, not sure in this spot what the best thing to do would be. I decided to put the brakes on here considering I'm not holding a heart, and obviously this turn benefits him more than it does me. So I just check and accept the loss. River comes out a 6 of hearts, and now it gets a bit interesting. I'm just hoping he checks. I definitely have decent showdown value with ace high on this board, but then again, this board does favor his range. I don't think bluffing here would accomplish anything positive for me. 3 hearts there, there's a one-liner out to a straight, and any pair beats my hand. It just feels like a really weird spot to bluff in for me, considering I was the aggressor pre-flop. He bets $100 into me, and I know that's a very bad sign. I don't beat anything here, I just purely have a bluff catcher with ace high, so I think this is a pretty standard fold. I was a bit tempted to call here though, because I do think he could have something like maybe king jack or king queen, but ultimately, yeah, I think this does favor his range more, so I just fold. And he shows king 5 of spades, so we technically had the best hand with ace high. He totally outplayed me that hand. Props to him for that bluff. I might have misplayed, but he also played it well, so we lose a medium-sized pot there. One of the last hands of the night, I pick up ace queen suited. I'm on the button, very strong hand, and the middle position player raises to $25. The low jack calls and it folds over to me on the button here, so I'm gonna bump this up. I raise it to 125, holding this very strong hand on the button, and hoping we get 1. 2 callers would be okay here too, but obviously I prefer heads up, and I have 2 very strong players to the left of me that look like they're thinking for a bit, but luckily both fold, and it's now on to the initial raiser and the low jack who put in the call, so we're 3 players headed to a flop. Hoping it comes out with a lot of spades and my life is easy. I don't have to think too much once that happens, but unfortunately for us, it comes out 9-8-9 rainbow, which definitely hits our opponent's ranges more than ours pre-flop. So I'm not too excited about this run out so far, and there's no spades either. So we need a lot of help if we're gonna make this happen. Both my opponents check over to me, and I definitely don't think c-betting here is appropriate, considering the board is paired and it probably hits their range more than it hits mine. So when the turn comes a 6 of hearts here, they both check over to me. I think it's a sign of weakness here for them to check 2 streets, but also I have a pretty awful hand, and none of this is hitting my range, so I just check back. The 10 of clubs comes out on the river. The action is a bit weird here. It's basically a bet of $5, a call of $5, and I'm not really trying to get fancy here and run into some monster hand. I do think I have some showdown value with ace queen in this spot, so I decided to just call the $5. Obviously not going to fold for $5, and see what my opponents have. I say call, and I throw in my $5 chip, expecting to lose to, I don't know, maybe like a pair or just something better, but ace queen is good here. I don't think I could have got value betting, and I think it would have been too risky, so take down like a $300 something pot with just checking down every street essentially. So very lucky run out, and I think my position was good there in that pot. All right, and that wraps up my 2-3 session at the Lucky Lady sometime in mid-June, I think, towards the end of June. A lot of fun. Always enjoy Justin's games. He hosts a really good game there, so every Wednesday it's also live streamed, and yeah, overall a really good session. Still in a bit of a upswing here, I guess you could say, trying to get a little bit of a healthy bankroll going with some wins consecutively here, so hope that continues, and I hope we continue to do well next month into July. So appreciate you guys for watching, and have a great day.